Greetings all, welcome back to another episode of SR250 and a little ray of hope maybe this time, more so than the last video, which was just really frustrating that things weren't really working out. But progress has been made in this week. First thing, I did touch up the frame with a bit of satin hammerite, and that's actually a spot on match for the frame. It blends in really nicely, even though where it's scratched with the swing arm on the inside you won't ever see it. I know it's there, so I want it to be right. And yeah, I've touched that in, given it a couple of coats. You can't even tell that was scratched, so I'm really chuffed about that. What else? Went up to my local hardware place and got a few bolts for the engine mounts, but all they had were A270 stainless steel bolts, and I'm not convinced that the tensile strength of these is as good as the original engine bolts. So I've done a bit more research. I mean, they were not much, pence really for a pack of 4. I've done a bit more research, found the part numbers for the original Yamaha ones, and I can get those from Wemoto parts, and they're like £2 each. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the wheel bearing kits from them, because theirs do say they come with the dust seals as well, which I need, because 2 of those were perished on the wheels. So when I order the wheel bearings, I'll order some of the engine bolts as well. And I just know they're the right ones in there then, so that's okay. What's the other thing I did? The other thing was the head race bearings. Now I'm guessing that I made a bit of a cock up way back when I ordered them. Looking around, it looks like you can get, or the parts of the SR250 seem to be split into like early 80s and then early 90s, so like 82 to 86 and 93 to 97 or something like that. They seem to be the 2 kind of time frames, so I'm guessing if there were changes, that's when changes happened. And mine's a 94, and the only thing I can guess is that I bought early 80s ones, or that's what I got. Doesn't matter, it's all in the past now, it was months ago. So I took a punt and ordered some 94 head race bearings from Pyramid Parts. Ordered those yesterday, they came this morning, so really good delivery on them. And straight out of the box, I've compared them against the other bearings, and they are thinner, which kind of fits in with the fact that I wasn't getting enough of the steering stem through to get the thread on. So on the surface, looking at it, it looks like we might be onto a winner. It looks like we could make some progress today. So yeah, we're going to get the bottom bearing off the steering stem, tap the new races in, put the new bearings on, grease them up. Let's hopefully get the front end kind of fairly together by the wheel. Let's get the steering, the yokes on, the handlebars on, the forks on, and I'll be laughing. I'll be happy with that today. So that's the purpose of this video. So stick with me, see if these fit. And what else have I done really? I haven't really done an awful lot else. Let's show you. Is to start putting the loom in, just because I was bored out here and I wanted to do something. So that's kind of half in at the moment. I haven't cable tied it or neatened it all up, but yeah, I was just, you know, the devil makes work for idle hands and all that. But no, the bearings have arrived now. So first order of the day, I think, is going to be drummeling this little bad boy off, getting him off and getting the new ones on. So let's begin. Right then, so just going to be using a Dremel and a cut-off wheel, just because it's a little bit more accurate than a grinder. Switch the bearings off. So there you go. That's the top bit with all the tape with bearings in it. So we've got the inner race bit here, which is which I'm actually going to save, because once I've cut that, I'll be using that to probably tap on the other bearing to drift it into place. Go. Yeah, bingo. So you see all we've done is just cut a notch in there. Really take your time because you don't want to mar up the stem here. But perfect. So that's off. So we can take all this crap off and put the new one on. Okay then, so let's have a little look at what we get with the steering head bearings. Might as well do this a bit more in depth whilst I'm here. So that's our steering stem with the bearing and the bottom dust cover removed. In the new kit we have upper and lower bearing with race. So you've got two of those, one for the top, one for the bottom. And two dust seals, so one goes at the bottom, one goes on the top, and this one they come with a little bit of grease, but I'll probably be using a lot more grease than that on these bearings. But so we've got two different diameters there. So the larger of the diameter is the one that slides over here, so that will be sort of an interference fit with that bearing, because that bottom of that shaft, as you can see, it's slightly wider than here. So you can kind of tell which bearing's which as well. The bigger hole is the bearing which will be going on the steering stem itself. So if we just take this out, you have basically the bearing there, which when we've greased it up, see it stops there. So that's where you have to kind of tap it down and fit on, but we're going to grease that up. And that's your race, which it races round. And that's the bottom one, so that's going to go underneath there and tap into place under there. So there's that one, and then you just kind of pretty much repeat the process for the top. Now the top one, that will just, we'll take the race out. The race will sit in there. So I've got to split this packet open. And then the bearings kind of, that one's loose, it kind of will just fit on top of the steering stem when it's full through. That's the only one that's like a real bugger to get on and off. So let's put the camera down, and what should we do first? Should we put the races in first? Yeah, I think we'll put the races in first. Right then, so we'll put the races in first. So I'm going to start with the bottom one. Basically inside there you can see the race sits in there. Let's try and do this with one hand as usual. You've got this lip here, and the bearing will, it needs to go flush in with that. So hold that there. So it's going to go in and push in like that. So that's where we're going to tap it in. And let's just make sure this is lined up again. Oh, fuck. Back up there. And so my preferred method, you can, some people, especially like with the actual bottom yoke, you can say, some people put the whole bottom yoke or steering triple tree in the freezer, because obviously that, you know, the heating, the contracting. You put the bearings in the this bottom stem, sorry, in the freezer, and then drop the bearing over top. You could warm it up, put that in the oven or something like that. I don't really tend to ever, I've not had to actually have to do that. I never really tried it. I usually just carefully drift it. As long as you're tapping on the inner of the race here and not the actual bearing itself, you're not going to do it any damage. Just evenly tap it all the way around, and that always seems to work. Same principle with putting the races in. As long as you don't damage the face. Well, I'll just put it in, and I've got it's a 36mm socket, so the face of that sits on there perfectly. It's not going to mark the inside where the bearings race around, so that's perfectly fine. Try and get it. You want to get it nice and level. Start tapping that all the way around. Yeah, and that's it. There we go. So that's that one, and same for the top. There we go. Our top race in as well. So now we just need to grease the bearings up and drift that one down as well. Right, so greasing the bearings, my preferred method. I'm sure there's lots of methods, and this is the one that has worked for me. Any old sort of like high temperature good grease. This one my mate actually gave me, Chris from the Bonneville. He'd ordered this, I think, in some of the parts that came, said you can have it. So I've got it, I'm going to use it. They do provide this bearing grease, but I don't know, in my opinion that doesn't seem to be quite enough. But what I do, this is like the red grease, put a nice big splodge of it in your hand like that, get your bearing, and you're pushing it actually into the bearing here, so it's not just rubbing it on the outside, but I find if you kind of push it in that way, and just keep pushing it around. And on that side, same again. And you're just really forcing all the grease in there. And just keep doing that. And spin the bearing a bit as well, get it moving round. Make a right old mess. Okay, so the camera just filled up with memory there, so I had to go and just transfer what I've already filmed onto the computer. So hopefully you got the bit about packing the bearings there with grease. So this one's there, ready to be driven home. What I'm going to do is probably use the race from the old bearing, because that's going to be the same same diameter around. I'm I'm just going to chop straight through that to make it easy to remove it. I'm going to flip it upside down so that sort of where it tapers, the inner face there is going to be seated on that part of the new bearing. So it's going to be down like that for when I tap down onto it. In fact, actually, do you know what? I will cut through it just in case it sticks on there. Just make my life a bit easier. Right, so that's chopped through there, so that I know that's going to be able to come off easily again. Like I said, I'm going to flip it upside down, so that sits on that inner ring there, like that, so you're not actually hitting the main bearing. And then what we're going to do, I've got this slightly excessively long pole, but it's my trusty old bit of scaff pole or something. It's like a breaker bar. That slides over the top there and sits on top of that. And then, right, I'll put this down here and I'm just going to bash the top of it with the rubber mallet. There's nothing there. That's down as low as it'll go. And in the absence of having a big metal pole like that, you could probably just tap it all the way down. But that's just one way of doing it. Right, so now let's get this steering stem hopefully all in and we can get the forks on. Okay, that is promising so far. So we've got our dust cap on, we've got the top thingy bit, the lock nut, so the yoke goes on. And that goes on. Now all this will get, because I haven't actually set the bearings yet, so I shall wait till it's all kind of pretty much on together. They're a bit loose at the moment, because when they're all on we can grasp the fork legs, see if there's any free play there, check that it's just a nice smooth action, and all I'll do is just slacken this nut off, tap that one around until I get the desired amount of free play. That little sort of, what would you call it, castellated nut, sort of one for a C-spanner, and then torque it all down. So, right, that is a lot more promising. Look at that, bars on the bike. Hey! So I'll get the old forks on now, and then we can start buttoning everything down properly. Wait, hey! Forks are on, and the bars are on. It's starting to look like a real bike now. I'm much happier than I was in the last video. Let's have a look, shall we? There she is. So everything still needs to be sort of torqued down and you know, properly adjusted. I mean, I haven't properly adjusted the bearings just yet. Need to kind of like preload them and slacken them off and just make sure that's spot on. But yeah. It is starting to come together a bit more now. I was in two minds about whether or not to, because obviously I've got the gaiters there, whether to fit those springs in just there, just more for looks than anything else, just because it looks a bit unusual. But I'm not too sure, actually. A, it'll just be a pain to clean them. They don't really serve any function other than they look a bit unusual, and I'm not entirely sure yet. I kept harping on that it was going to be a bottom mounted headlight, but I am wondering whether or not just to have like headlight brackets and a normal bucket, mainly because I can fit the indicators to the headlight brackets as well. Not too sure yet, so maybe I'd like to leave those spaces open, just to leave me that option. I have, oops, this won't be the one that's going on, but this was a cheap one I've had knocking around the house for ages. It's like a Chinese job. I mean, it wouldn't even pass an MOT because it's all LED in there, yellow lens. I don't think it would pass an MOT anyway. I'm not sure. It's got high and dip beam, but yeah, I'm not sure. But I don't think it would. But I don't know. That size is quite nice, isn't it? That's about what, about a 4.5 inch headlight on it. That's more just for mocking up and having a look at. It does look pretty cool though, doesn't it? Don't know. Wonder would it pass an MOT? I mean, it's a bit cheap and cheerful, this one, to be honest. But hey, well, it gives us an idea of looks wise. I do like the look of that, actually. Of course, my other thing is I've got a lot of wiring to hide as well, namely that lot down there, and I won't have a bucket to put it in. I'll tell you what else we'll do. That might just be, I'll probably call this the end of the video, but just before I do, let me turn off, and I have got the seat and the tank here. I'm just going to sling them on to have a little look-see to see what it would look like all together. So, stay tuned. Hey, look at that. Starting to look like a real bike. I actually chocked it up at the bottom there, and I've had a sit on it as well, and it's actually, that's surprisingly comfortable. Well, for the 30 seconds I was sat on it anyway. But looking good. The only thing that's knocked me is I've just looking at, I'm not happy with my folds at the end of this seat cover here. That could be a lot neater. I can't believe I let that slip through the net. So I'm going to unscrew those and replete it and just make a nicer job, a symmetrical job of the back of that, because the rest of it's all done. You know, I've done all right on that, if I do say so. I don't know. I don't like that. That doesn't look even. So that I need to readdress. But the tank looks nice on it. Yeah, the whole thing kind of, I'm a bit cramped up in here at the moment, so I can't give you a sort of a full-on distance view. But there's a little, what would you call it, a little teaser. But hey, look, she's slowly but surely getting there. It's quite mad. Yeah. So that's pretty much more where I wanted to be from the last video. But hey, there we go. We've solved the steering head bearing issue. We've touched up the frame. We've got the forks on, handlebars on. I guess next, there's a couple of things, little things I want to go over. Like I said, just said the seat I want to have a look at. Reading up as well, I wouldn't mind dropping the tank down a little bit, and there is a way that you can move the kind of the mounting lugs down. I might look into that a little bit more, just to give it a slightly flatter profile. But yeah, what's next? I think probably getting the, need to get the wheel bearings and stuff on. I'm gonna have to get, I think I'm gonna go for, they do YSS rear shocks for this from One Motor as well. They're about 60 quid a set, 60 or 70 quid I think, and they are the normal ride height. I know I was looking at getting the Hagons on there for having a higher ride height, but that little nubbin on the rear swing arm at the back there, which holds the spring for the return for the brake pedal, you have to chop that off and relocate it if you want to drop the swing arm down. Haven't quite worked out how I would do that, and whether I want to do that. Do I want this kind of very scrambler, high trackery look to it, or do I want it a bit more slammed and bratty? I think I want it a bit more slammed and bratty. I've dropped the fork tubes through the top yoke there a fair whack. Obviously they'd normally sit flush, so that's going to be kind of lower anyway. So I think I almost want to keep the bike lower now. So yeah, I need to kind of sit down and work out what my next expenditure is going to be. I need the wheel bearings, but I can't really, no point mounting the wheels until I've got the tyres on. Need change sprockets, need an exhaust, need a headlight, need a speedo. That's about it really. Not a massive amount of stuff I need. So I've just got to really just sort of sit down and work out my next kind of plan of action with it now. But yeah, it's all pretty good. It's freezing cold out here tonight. I don't know if I mentioned it, my heater's packed up, so yeah, that's not cigarette smoke, if you can see it, that is just cold air, or hot air, whatever. But yeah, there we go. Anyway, I'm done. I'm going to get this uploaded so I can put it up for your viewing pleasure this evening. But hey ho, we're making a bit more progress. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the wicked comments and all the support and everything, and catch you next time.